Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. I am the Gentleman. This is the Gentleman's Pixel Club, and this is Back to the Future 2 on the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. I'm running the game on a recreation of the Super Nintendo on the MiSTer FPGA, so we basically have perfect, accurate recreation, emulation, you choose your word, of the original hardware. And today is the first time that I've seen Super Back to the Future 2, and I would like to share it with you. I was a big fan of the Super Star Wars games on the Super Nintendo. They really captured the spirit of the films. They were fun, they were good, they were entertaining, and I never even knew that this one existed. And this is the second time that I've had to go at making the video. The first time I was playing it in Japanese, and I thought, right, okay, this is a little bit hard to understand what's going on with the text because it truly was in Japanese. And the second time is an English translation of the game that you're seeing right here at the moment. And that is the beauty of using the MiSTer to recreate the hardware, recreate the experiences that you see me playing on the screen and everything else. You get to play versions of the games that were not physically available. Yes, you could buy the Japanese one, but some clever soul has recreated the English version of it, so they've taken it and just changed the language where need be back to English. At the moment, this is a demo screen. We're playing it, we're controlling Marty on his little hoverboard here at the moment, but it's just getting used to the controls. This is practice, this is a lesson, and the real game will start in a moment when this level ends here. First time I was playing it, I didn't actually know how to control the hoverboard. I could move left and right, but I couldn't use my foot to power myself along. So it was a quick redefine of the Super Nintendo controls for the current joypad that I was using to make this possible. And the game starts now, really, because the demo has just played. So I'm going to let the opening play out and then I'll start talking again. And that was a great cutscene. Really enjoyed watching that. And that was my first intro into the game because I never played the lesson on the Japanese version. But this was the first level that I saw where I was messing about, trying to figure out what the controls are. I immediately enjoyed this game. I'm in platformers, I can give and take. I like them, but it depends what they're about. And I was a huge fan of the Back to the Future films, and especially actually the Back to the Future, the second one. I thought it was probably the best out of them all. And having these wonderful cartoon style graphics of Marty and his hoverboard as he goes about, effectively, I guess this must be a city in the past now, depending on the time frame, but was in the future then. I can't remember what year Back to the Future 2 was actually set. Using the hoverboard as a weapon, so you basically hit fire and he spins it and knocks the policeman out. And look at the policemen as they fire the gun. The gun enlarges in their hands. Cartoon, pretty style graphics to keep you playing, and a great soundtrack behind the game as well. This reminded me of, not a cheap man's Sonic or anything else like this, but I had Sonic vibes, not because of the speed of it, but for the spinning action that he had here. It's clearly that is some kind of rip for it. Here I am trying to get to the policeman at the top. I give up, should have perhaps gone back and tried to figure out what controls to do that. But I wanted to explore the level. Now I'd found out how to prepare myself around it a little bit. The soundtrack is, in my opinion, absolutely. Look, I love the crosses on his eyes where he's lost a life there. The soundtrack is absolutely stunning in my eyes. I didn't realise that the Super Nintendo could do music of this particular nature, and it's really recognisable what you're listening to. A bit repetitive as it goes on and on and on, which it does because you don't have the whole track there, but it gives the game atmosphere. But one thing I would have changed is I would have faded in and out that music to the right parts of the level. So it's not continuously there, but you know, it is there to one extent or another. At the moment I'm flashing. I don't know why I'm flashing. I've picked up an object that gave me some ability, wasn't sure what that was there, but refighting my way through this level. And you've seen these policemen with the enlarging gun. You know, it reminds me actually a little bit of Mask. You know, the gun sort of morphs and evolves into their hand in a big weapon that they can fire at you with bullets that look like they belong out of Super Mario as well. The lives are represented by the little man on the bottom, sorry, the top right hand side of the screen, where I've got 2 of them. And for each life you have a skateboard that is shown on the top left of the screen. You can lose each one of these, and when you do, it's game over. It's sort of that particular life, and then you drop down to the next life. So you know, you can do a fair bit of damage to yourself as you play this. And I've fallen down a secret trapdoor there. Again, very similar to Sonic, where you've got secret areas that you can go to. And I noticed that I went right. Perhaps I should have gone left to see what was left there. I don't do it, and at the moment I'm trying to get to the street level, jump in at the wrong time. I need to wait for the platform to be at its peak and then jump and do this. The game I've mentioned feels like Sonic. You see little birds in the air. You know, you can't hit those or do anything with those. You don't free any objects by doing this, but I've got true Sonic vibes in terms of the mechanics on how you control Marty. One thing I suppose I would have changed looking back on the video here is he's got a permanent happy look on his face as he's staring at you, the player, controlling it. You know, I think it might have been an idea to change that, adjust that a little bit. But we've reached the end of the level and we've hit a goal, and all our coins are going up a Sonic area to capture here. And we move into, I think this was called Cafe 80s, this particular level, and this is where we meet the bad guy that apparently reoccurs as you go through the game. You know, Biff was in Back to the Future. I think his name was Griff in this version because he was the grandson of Biff, if I recall. And the way you can attack him is by using the TVs. Look under each TV, you've got a little thing you can stand on, like a pinball head, and when you're not a pinball head, but one of the objects on a pinball table. And when you hit that, it causes the TV out to fire out and hit him. But I've lost my life here at the moment. Fortunately, we don't start right at the beginning of the level, and we have another go to use the TVs to beat him up. So he's spinning these baseball bats as well. I seem to remember him having some baseball bats in the film. And this is a really pretty arcade conversion of the film. You know what you're looking at here. And when you can recognise elements from the film and say, well, yeah, I remember this from the film, I remember that bit from the film, I remember this cafe from the film, you know, it shows that the designers have done a good job, and they've clearly had fun making this, or certainly the graphic artists have had fun making this. Had to do a little bit of searching for the box art for here. So on the left hand side of the screen you can see the box art for the SNES version of the game here. Look how different those boxes were back then. We've got our usual British, American, European type versions when you have a look at it, if you're looking at it from a Western point of view. But the Japanese boxes are very different. I always prefer the UK boxes. I think they line up a lot better. There was a certain format to them, a certain presentation to them, and that's what I liked about the old consoles. You know, I'm a big fan of the Sinclair Spectrum, as you know, but if you line everything up, you know, you have this tapestry or this mosaic of a mess where, you know, everything is different sizes, no two boxes are the same. But the Super Nintendo, you know, and I think the Mega Drive had a few differences because Electronic Arts, and there's a really interesting video by, I think, Kim Justice on what Electronic Arts did differently. So if you go and have a look at one of her videos, you'll see the difference on, you know, how they screwed Sega over so that they have their own look on their carts, and I think their own boxes were slightly different as well. But and basically, to cut a long story short, they created their own development system because they didn't want to spend the money doing this. But you look at the SNES stuff and it would all line up wonderfully. It's great when you look at SNES collectors who do the odd videos and they've got their background and you can see all the carts, everything they're lining up. So pretty, so good to look at. Anyway, enough on the car art. This, as I mentioned, only came out in Japan And this is the beauty of using the MiSTer FPGA to recreate what we do. You get to play classics like this. I found this on a tweet earlier today. I've got a Twitter feed that I have as well, so if anybody's actually interested who's viewing this, you know, please follow me on Twitter. I do release information on every video that I do there, so if you want to stay up to date and you're not subscribing, if you're not subscribed, why not? Please consider subscribing. But if you haven't got the alerts running as well, if you follow me on Twitter, every single video I do gets a release. And it was on Twitter I saw this. Someone posted a picture of that they finally managed to get hold of one of these carts, and you know, I'm having a look at that cart thinking, I don't remember that game. You know, I remember the Super Star Wars games, but not that. And I've just figured out that I can use the hoverboard to climb up the wall in the grooves that we have there. That's why I was messing about a little bit. But yeah, I looked at this thinking, hang on a minute, this is something new to me. And when it turned out to be a Japanese only game, you know, you fired it up on the MiSTer because it gives everything you need to be able to do this. And then, whoa, this is good. This is really good. You know, I would have loved to have owned this cart back in the day. Not that I would have ever been able to play it, but I'd have loved to have owned it. And then you play it and you think, well, a bit too much Japanese for me. And that was on the cutscene that you had at the beginning. It was a case of, and this was a shock to me as I was falling down. You know, I didn't get killed by the cars. So it takes me a little while, but I figure out that you're actually meant to use these cars to do something. But yeah, too much Japanese for me. Yes, it was only on the cutscene, but you know, you have no idea of what was coming next, what else to expect in the game. And then to do a search and find that I had a directory and it had effectively conversions, and in these conversions were translations. So you have the Western translation for a game that should have come out over here. It should have come out in Europe, it should have come out in the States. It's worthy of doing it. It's not as polished as the Star Wars games, and I believe there was a Super Indiana Jones as well. I think I played a Super Indiana Jones as well, so it's hard to talk about the polish on that, but it's certainly not as polished as the Star Wars games. But it's a great, brilliant game in its own right. You know, it's frustrating at times, like you get those spikes that kill me there and you can run through them while you're flashing, and I took advantage of being able to go past the other one because I just restarted live, and then we hit another building that we have to go up. Fortunately, no police and bullets to beat. It's a frustrating game because that car was a bit hard to get through in terms of damn missed, got to try again, got to try again, but got through it. It's not as fast as Sonic, although the controls are very close to what Sonic is, but it is a fun game. It's got a nice soundtrack in the background, you know, it plays well, you know, characters are cute, the enemies are quite cute that you see up on the screen there as well, that I go past on my fantastic hoverboard, and you know, you're having fun with it. You know, Marty, he's got a permanent smile on his face, so he's clearly happy. You know, nothing daunts him, nothing upsets him, and you know, Marty has been upset now and knocked over by that guy, and we basically end up and go and start again, and it takes me right back to the beginning of the level. So you've seen me do this already. We're going to repeat and try and go all the way through this. I was thinking when I died there, damn, how far back am I going to go? But you know, fortunately it's not too far, and you know, we should be able to get through this. You know, we know what we've done before. None of these obstacles should be a difficulty, but I would like each of you who see new games like this, you know, drop me a comment if you know of any other unusual games, any games that are worth picking up and having a look at, because you know, and that guy there, he was throwing Tetris blocks. Did you see those red blocks that came out? Yeah, drop me a note of any game that is worth having a look at. It's a bit unusual, and this does fall into the bit unusual game for me because it didn't have a Western release. It should have had a Western release. I would have thought that Back to the Future would have been much more of a Western type film than what it would have for Japanese, and that's not to say Japanese doesn't appeal to anybody in Japan, but you know, you look, we have a very, very different culture in terms of, you know, the films that we enjoy. You know, you look at all the anime type films, you know, we don't have that many of them over here. You know, we don't have all the type of anime type cartoons that they have. You know, we have certainly the Western stuff, so why this never got a release, I just don't know. Anyway, we are on our last hoverboard of our last life. I know that I get a little bit frustrated here, and I was a little bit frustrated while playing this as well, because I've been through this level once already, I've been past these cars once already, but you know, there was a little bit of frustration because I just kept getting the timings wrong. I think that I was aware that, you know, you're seeing part of the same game here. You've seen it already. You want to quickly get through this to show you new parts, to show you new levels. However, we don't see much more than this. You know, I died very shortly after this, but the key point is this game is a lot bigger than what I've actually shown you here. There is quite a lot more levels, and I've seen screenshots of some of the levels where you've got, and let's look, I missed the bloody ledge there. I've seen screenshots of where you can see Biff's Casino and other bits and pieces. So in the great cartoon style that the designers, the programmers have done of this game, they do take you through the path of the entire film. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. I'll just say, look after yourselves, take care. Hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please consider giving it a like if you feel it's worthy of it. If you're not a subscriber, please consider subscribing if you feel I'm worthy of your subscription, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.